Well, 100 days into the Biden administration, it is clear that while the names have changed and the seats have been shuffled, down in D.C., politicians are hard at work playing political games with your life. Now, to be clear, the Biden administration is in the midst of an unparalleled shift in public policy. They are proposing, by all accounts, the largest expansion of the U.S. federal government in the history of American governance. Now, the default comparison of the week has been to FDR's New Deal, and yet even that comparison distorts the true scope of just how much money they are trying to print and spend. But we need to look beyond the numbers. We need to get past the multi-trillion-dollar sticker shock. Not because the realities of that kind of spending aren't significant, but because the policy proposals behind all the spending and the arguments against them fail to fix the problems Americans are desperate to solve. Now, America, we need things like roads that are paved and bridges that are stable. And yet it is clear, quite clear, that the bridges we desperately need will not be built until carloads of Americans go plunging into a river and die. Because our politicians are too busy arguing about the definition of infrastructure to start building a 21st century America. And yes, quiet as it is kept, most Americans are desperate to achieve the racial harmony that has escaped our nation from our inception. And yet the politicians, they are too busy debating the existence of systemic racism to combat the honest-to-God hatred that still lurks in the hearts of the few, and the shared sense of apathy by too many that allows the vestiges of that hate to survive. Yes, the problems Americans are facing, they are real, but they demand equally real solutions, not empty gestures that simultaneously jeopardize our economic freedoms, and not self-righteous opposition that extends the debate and stalls the bad legislation, but leaves the underlying problems unsolved. So yes, let's acknowledge the educational crisis crippling this nation. But let us also confront the reality that a universal pre-K program does not address the fact that by the time children reach high school, the average American student cannot read at grade level, and that the average American adult only reads at a 7th grade level themselves. Let us acknowledge that here in America, money should not be a barrier to pursuing higher education. But let us also recognize that free community college does not change the fact that the students who walk into those college classrooms are not, on average, prepared to take college-level courses. And instead, they will be learning things they should have already learned in their 13 years of public school education that we, the people, have already paid for. And yes, let us also acknowledge that wealth inequality is real, that the wage gap is larger than ever before, and that the American worker deserves a larger piece of the American pie. But that nightmare isn't simply because American companies decided to stop paying a living wage. It's because many of the careers that provide a living wage, well, it turns out the average American has not received the training or educational support necessary to be able to do them. So no, this is not a universal pre-K problem. This is not a free college equity problem. And it sure as hell isn't a wage imbalance problem you can solve by simply screaming about a $15 minimum wage all the day long. This is a multi-generational primary educational disaster that has left Americans devoid of the tools and training necessary to become the most successful versions of themselves. And spending money America does not have on solutions that do not solve America's problems in an effort to trick American voters into believing you care about them is quite literally the oldest trick in the D.C. playbook. Now, Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny, they're an iconic cartoon duo that have existed for over 80 years. For 81 years, we have been watching Elmer hunting Wabbit. And for 81 years, we have been watching Bugs Bunny distract Elmer from the fact that the rabbit he was looking for was standing directly in front of his face. You see, it was all a game. to keep us watching. Because if Elmer ever shot Bugs Bunny, or if Bugs ever decided to find a different forest to live in, the show would be over. And Warner Brothers wouldn't make any more money. So as we move beyond Joe Biden's first 100 days, let us commit to examining the policies. Let us resolve to push back on proposals that fundamentally alter the founding tenets of this nation or infringe on our God-given liberties. But let us also recognize when the people we have elected to improve our lives try and distract us from the fact that the rabbit has not been shot, our dinner has not been served, and Americans' problems have remained unsolved on their watch, while the special interests get rich.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.